So it is time for the Jedi Order to end.
Time it is. For you to look past a pile of old books.
The sacred Jedi texts!
Oh, read them, have you? Well, page turners, they were not. Yes. Wisdom they held, but that library contained nothing that the girl Rey does not already possess. Skywalker. Still looking to the horizon. Never here. Now. The need in front of your nose.
I was weak. Unwise.
Lost Ben Solo, you did. Lose Rey, we must not.
I can't be what she needs me to be.
Heeded my words not, did you? Pass on what you have learned. Strength, mastery, but weakness, folly, failure also. Yes, failure most of all. The greatest teacher, failure is.
You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? Should I have? It's a ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Hey guys, and welcome to Kessel Run Weekly. My name is Kristen.
And I'm Danny.
And we have I think it's going to be a pretty full show
absolutely.
Today. If you've been following us through our rewatch of Star Wars movies, you would know that we actually just finished up the Last Jedi rewatch. And
we're eager to talk about
We are. And, we're going to try to keep it as positive as we can, but we are going to talk about some of the things we don't like about it.
as well as the things that we love.
Exactly, because there's some love and some
it's really challenged
dislikes.
you as a Star Wars fan, I think.
It does. It has. Yes. But we'll talk about it. We'll get there with our
We'll
main
get into
event.
that. Yeah.
But first, we actually want to talk about some new stuff happening in Battlefront too. Actually,
Attention! This is Commander Poe Dameron of the Republic Fleet. I have an urgent communique for General Hux.
you'll notice that over the last month or two, they've been throwing out some really cool updates for us.
Yes, we're in the Clone Wars season.
Yes, I'm so excited. It makes my heart so happy because honestly,
Yeah.
Clone Wars is my favorite show.
Absolutely.
So they're throwing in a lot of cool. I don't want to say costumes, but a lot of cool
Appearances. I think is
appearances.
what they're calling
Okay,
them, yeah.
cool. I'll take it.
Skins appearances.
Appearances. And we just actually got a couple new ones. So take it away, Danny.
Yeah, so the first two, well, actually the two skins appearances that came out with this newest update are the 91st Recon Corps, which many of you may know is Mace Windu's squad from the Clone Wars. They first appeared in Revenge of the Sith. They are led by Commander CC-8826, or otherwise known as Neo.
Okay.
I wonder if he has an album dropping soon. He was the musically talented commander.
Right.
But so we have that skin as well as one that I'm actually extremely excited about and also kind of have a little issue with. The 104th, which is, you guys all know, the Wolfpack Battalion, led by Plo Koon and Commander Wolf. So that one has come out. I love that skin. It looks amazing. My issue is that there is only one version of said skin, and it's the way that Commander Wolf looks. So there's no variation like the Wolfpack actually has, and for whatever reason they all look like Commander Wolf. And so I get it, but at the same time, just give me Commander Wolf.
Maybe that's what we'll follow, though. I mean, they're still bringing out a bunch of updates,
They are.
and we're going to get a lot more over the next 4 months.
Yeah. I think
3 or 4 months.
Yeah, up until December, I think, is the last content as of now on what they're calling the little roadmap. And so that's the last thing that should be coming out for Clone Wars. I'm sure they'll continue past that, though.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see some updates like that roll around.
Which, and another thing cool is that I noticed in this in the patch notes that they released and everything, they were talking about how with the skins that they originally had released, I think it was the 327th Star Corps, the one that was a yellow and weird kind of look. I mean, it looked cool, but at the same time, it was really odd. Like,
it was.
Those colors should probably not be together kind of thing. They were talking about how they got a lot of comments about accuracy, and how that clone was not accurate to the Star Core, and different things like that. And so what they're going to be focusing on coming to the future, and even considering it in these 2 skins that they just released, is looking for more accuracy. The working closely with Lucasfilm to make sure that the actual design is more than just a paint design, that it actually is like armor wise and everything. Because you have some, like Commander Wolf being an example. He has a different helmet than the rest of the Wolf Pack. Like completely different style helmet. No one has his kind of helmet.
Right.
And so kind of stuff like that, I think, is what they're going to be looking toward, which I think will add a little bit of value to it too. It kind of says we care kind of thing,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just happy that we're getting as many updates as we are here recently.
Oh, definitely.
Because I feel like we went through that little dry
You're
spell.
just happy to be here.
I am happy to be here as always. I mean, but I am. We're getting a lot of good updates, and Battlefront, honestly, is probably one of my top games at the moment. It's one I really enjoy playing.
Love it.
Yeah, it's really fun, and I think if they keep throwing these updates out here like they are, it's going to continue to be a fun game because they're just going to keep adding in new content, and that's just, it's going to just keep it up, and I love it.
Yeah.
But I guess where I was going with that, though, is how, I understand wanting to be accurate, but at the same time, I feel like there's so many clones. So, to throw a couple out there that may technically not really be anybody's, you know what I mean? Like, shouldn't really make a difference, but I could understand, like, obviously if you throw Rex out there and he's, like, green, that could be a problem.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
But, like, I don't think you have to make every single one of them super accurate. So maybe that's one reason they haven't released anything else with Wolfpack. Maybe they wanted to
It's possible.
slow the roll and make sure they weren't going to throw out a bunch of incorrect
like actually
clones.
have a variation of the wolf pack.
Right.
And stuff like that. So,
And so maybe that's something they
That's
couldn't
true.
deliver in time,
That's
so they
possible.
just threw out
Yeah.
Wolf because they knew.
well, and that's
Wolf.
actually something that they mentioned is that they didn't want to delay the skins coming out, so they went ahead and released them as they are, and they're working on it for October's patch, which, by the way, contains General Grievous.
Ooh, General Grievous.
Yes. So yeah, but
I wish I could remember his song.
I don't know. Personally, I think that it's kind of cool that they're listening to that stuff. I mean, as much crap as they got at the very beginning of everything,
gosh.
which a lot of it was warranted, but they fixed a lot of stuff. It's a very fun game to play.
It is.
It's not broken anymore. There's still improvements that need to be made, but what's cool is they're still making those improvements.
Right.
And they're making it happen for the people still playing, and we enjoy the game.
Yeah.
So we've been streaming it every once in a while and everything, so we need to pick that back up, I think, especially with these new skins.
We'll try.
Show off our new digs.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so I just think it's cool that they're kind of giving that attention to detail because it's important with Star Wars. Another thing though that came out in the patch notes was a squad system update. So they've been talking about the squad system for a while, and it kind of, to me, if I remember correctly, it sounds like the original Battlefront 2 from the PlayStation 2 version.
Okay.
Like original, where you actually
OG.
you have a team that you spawn in with, and you can pick where you're spawning with the team. So essentially what this squad system does...
Like Fortnite.
I hadn't heard about you talk about that game in a while, and I completely forgot about it.
It's a game that just makes you angry, so...
It makes me so angry. That would be my surefire way to the dark side, is playing Fortnite.
Oh, you're right.
But with the squad system, they're basically what it's going to do is if you have friends that you're playing with, it'll permanently put you with your friends. Like your friends won't be spawned differently, because like as it was before, you'd die, you'd come in with a whole new group.
Right.
Now you have your team and your squad, which
So
would
even
be
if
cool.
you're the only one that dies, you can still spawn with like your team,
Right.
instead of spawning with like 3 other random
so they're
people.
going to have they have a spectator camera where if your other team's alive and stuff like that, you can choose who you want to spawn with.
Yay!
And next to and everything, which I think is really cool. It kind of puts a lot more of the social kind of part to it and everything. And just thought about this, gives you more of a wolf pack kind of feel.
It does.
So-
So now I can actually be friends with the person that me and him sit there and go kaboom back and forth. Kaboom! Y'all, I could go on all day. Like, if you're ever one of those people that likes to use the little
The emotes.
the emotes,
Yeah.
I'm so that person. I'll go up to you and just be like, kaboom! Or something. Or, you're the chosen one! Or, like, any of it. And it's so funny. I've had conversations with people on there about it, and we were actually, like, watching each other's back. It was so funny. And then Vader came around the corner, and he was like, and he died. Or, no, it was me. It was me that died. He, like, came
Yeah.
up from my body. He was like, you were the chosen one! Best day of
Can
my
confirm
life.
this absolutely happens every time she plays.
It does. I can't help it. I'm that person.
But yeah,
So funny.
no,
I love the
definitely.
emotes so much. So that's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to be in friends with all the people that, like, emote. And they're probably like 12-year-olds, honestly, but I don't even care. I don't even
They're
care.
fun.
They're fun 12-year-olds.
That's who they are. They are fun.
Right.
But that's all the news that we have for Battlefront 2 and everything. So both of us, I know, are eager to get to playing to it. Very excited. We need to get that at least 104th Battalion. We need the Wolfpack at minimum.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
And we need to start saving up for Mr. Grievous.
Oh,
He's coming.
we have plenty of time.
Only a couple more weeks. October, man. That's
Have
when
you-
that's coming out.
Have you checked our credits? We haven't spent, like, anything in a while.
Republic credits will do fine.
Right.
So cool. So I don't have any other news. Kristen, did you have anything before we get into our main topic?
No.
No.
No, I don't. It's all for me.
So if you're ready, I think we can go ahead and dive in. So Kristen, what is our main topic today?
Today, a brand new card. I'm just kidding. No, it's just the way I said
I
today.
did come at it with kind of a Bob Barker kind of.
I know. Kristen, what's behind door number 2? Well, Bob.
Kylo Ren's tantrum. Yay!
Most definitely. But as I said earlier,
Yes.
we actually continuing our rewatch. So today we're actually talking about The Last Jedi.
And now, our feature presentation.
Woo, boo.
I was
I'm
about to
just
say,
kidding.
subsequently at the same time, depending on who you're
Right.
talking to.
Right.
So I want to go ahead and dive in with this,
Yeah.
and I want your impressions. Because it's been kind of mixed between the both of us.
It has.
So we just rewatched it, literally finished watching it maybe 10, 15 minutes ago. What is your impression right now, leaving it that soon?
Do you want my honest opinion?
I want your honest opinion.
So, don't hate me. And, you know, I'm just going to say this beforehand, too, that even though right now, in this very moment, The Last Jedi may not be my favorite movie right now, but I am optimistic, and I do have hope that Episode 9 will bring it all together, and it'll all make sense. Because I could imagine being like, back when all the other movies came out, and I mean, it's not like that was like the Dark Ages or something like caveman. Like, my bad. But I can imagine being the people that got to experience the first few movies and watching like freaking, I don't know, Empire Strikes Back or something. And I mean, did any of those movies end, you know, like you thought they should have? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So I'm just holding out for the next movie. And I can give you a really good, like, what I think about it.
Well,
but
and I think it's interesting that you brought up Empire.
Uh-huh.
Because I think that was one thing that I heard the most back when Last Jedi first came out, was it was nothing like Empire. Nothing like Empire, also that kind of stuff. And everybody was going through talking about how amazing Empire was and stuff like that. Well, I mean, if you think about it, so if you have Empire without Return of the Jedi, is Empire as good, you know?
right.
If you don't know what's happening, like, it leaves you on all these cliffhangers, and yes, it's a huge twist, it's crazy, but at the same time, you're like, huh?
Right. And I mean, I
can
honestly
imagine how many bad reviews it may have gotten back then. You know?
Right. And I can honestly kind of testament to that, because Danny tried to start me off on one of the craziest movies. I don't even remember what it was now. Which one was it? Was it Empire?
No, I started you off on Phantom Menace.
No, you didn't.
Mm-hmm. And then you were like, what the heck is this? Why am I watching this?
Okay. Well, same thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to get through
Back
all
then
the...
you were.
Well, yeah, and now I'm okay because I have an interest in rewatching all of them. But as just starting out, like, you can't just watch one movie and be like, oh, that's great, I have all the answers. Like, woohoo!
Right.
Like, you have to watch them all. There's still no one coming out. So we're just going to have to see what happens.
Absolutely.
Simple as that. But first impressions, if you wanted me to put it on a scale for you, I would say it's a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
So I like to say it's about halfway because I don't think the movie's awful. I don't.
Okay.
It definitely has its moments where it's very like cheesy. There's some people that make some really stupid faces I don't like. That may just be me being petty. Unsure yet, I'll get back to you. I don't know, it's just... And I kind of said this earlier, and we kind of had to pause it and talk about it, because it was just kind of bothering me, and I told you, I don't know, to me, the movie, it doesn't seem very well written. It seems very scattered to me.
Okay. How so?
Like, I don't know the plot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just not a steady, like, point A to point B, I feel like. I mean, when you think about the whole thing of it, it's like, yeah, we start out trying to leave the rebel base, and at the end of it, we got to the rebel base, and now we're leaving again.
I mean, that's it in a nutshell, I guess.
So, I mean, when you think about the beginning and the end, it makes sense, but everything in the middle, to me, I don't know, like, at a story standpoint, I guess, like, some parts of it make sense, but there's just little small details just here and there that's just kind of like, wait, what? What?
Well, and I don't think that you're alone in that at all. Because, I mean, obviously a lot of people are still very angry about that movie. I'd actually put something out on Instagram asking you guys about your favorite and least favorite. Got some pretty visceral reactions. You guys kept it civil, though, and I really appreciate that, because Last Jedi conversations can turn nasty very quick.
They can.
Even had a podcast friend of ours wish us luck on it. So thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
But like I understand a lot of where that's coming from. To me, I wouldn't say that Last Jedi is my favorite. Also, again, though, just like you said, it's like judging the middle of a book.
Right.
It's not finished. It's not a complete story, so you can't accurately judge the middle of a trilogy.
Right.
Like, it's gonna be what it is. As far as where you were talking about scattered, I did feel like it felt like different episodes. I remember thinking the first time I watched it that it felt like a series of, like, Rebels.
Yeah.
The Rebels episodes and everything, where each one was a different adventure.
And
they all
agree
came
with that.
to a point at the very end.
Right.
Kind of thing like
I
that.
agree. It's almost like an arc.
Yeah.
And it's got so many different little, like, here's and there's.
Like, it was more, it felt like it was more so designed in, like, a TV format rather than an overall movie. So it kind of felt a little weird. Second time I watched it, because the first time I really wasn't sure what I thought about it.
No, I wasn't
I was
either.
just kind of like, what did I just watch? What's going on? The second time I watched it, though, I did enjoy it. And I don't know why that is. I've heard so many people say that, and it's almost like you know what you're expecting, so you can kind of better get it. Because, as we said before, expectations are an enemy of a Star Wars fan.
I mean,
because when you get big expectations and you're like, man, this is going to happen, and Luke's going to go ham with his green lightsaber and use the Force on everybody and all this other kind of stuff, and then he comes in as grumpy old Luke, get off my lawn.
Right.
I mean, I could see where that hurts a little bit. At the same time, though, go ahead.
Sorry, that's what I want to talk about too, is Grumpy Luke, because the last time we see Luke is when he when he buries his father?
Return of the Jedi on Endor.
And I think the thing that gets me is, like, I don't know, I feel like in those moments when Luke goes to that battle with his father and with Palpatine, he seems so proud of himself. You know what I mean? Like, he seems so proud, and he's like, no, I'm resisting the dark side. That's not what I'm going to do. You know, da-da-da-da-da. And he just seems so sure, and he's like the strong person. And then to turn around and see someone who's just, like, mean and grumpy, it's like, it's like it wasn't Luke.
So let's talk about Luke. Because I do have many, many thoughts on Luke. Because in all honesty, I get Luke in The Last Jedi. I understand why he's that way. And it didn't bother
I do
me.
too,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I didn't like it.
Well, and that's the thing is, I don't think it was there to be liked.
I don't
To
care.
be like, okay, well, yeah, that's my Luke or anything like that. But you've got to understand from Return of the Jedi...
Not my Luke!
From Return of the Jedi to The Last Jedi, you're looking at 30 years plus between the movies. A lot can happen. And he even goes through to talk about how, in his hubris, in his pride, he was like, I'm Jedi Master. I can take on anything. There's balance in the Force now. I brought balance to the Force because I saved my dad. I did all this kind of stuff. I did. And all these legends were about him. And he was blown up bigger than life and all this other kind of stuff. And so when he realized that his nephew was Force sensitive, was very powerful in the Force, all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I can train that boy. I can do anything because I'm Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. And he takes his students, all this other kind of stuff. But it was almost the way I interpreted it when we finally got the real side of the story of what happened between him and Ben was that what he saw in Ben scared him, and he wasn't willing to take the chance on losing everything that had been built and going back to those dark times and potentially losing someone close to him because Leia trusted him. You know what I mean?
So he would rather have to explain to her that he killed his nephew?
Well, that's the thing is, fear does crazy. Fear causes people to do crazy things, and he even says it happened like a fleeting moment, and then there was the shame, because literally it was just in the moment he was like, "Oh my God, I've got to stop this! I got to stop this for the good of the galaxy." Lights his lightsaber, and he's like, "This is my nephew. Leia trusted me with her son," and that's where that shame happens. Like, come on. Like, because he was endless hope in Return of the Jedi. He never gave up on the most evil man in the galaxy, his own father. But he was willing to turn on his nephew. And so it was a moment of fear, and it clouded his judgment, as fear does. And
foggy.
He had a foggy mind. And at that point, I feel like it was just that one mistake. But, I mean, Ben may have already been on that path. He just had an excuse to start it. You never know. Like, I mean, it's a whole game of what ifs. And that's what a lot of this movie is, especially when Rey and Kylo both see each other's future. And they're like, I see the moment when you'll turn. No, I see the moment when you'll turn. And then both of them turn, but neither one of them turn the way that they want them to turn. So.
I mean, okay. I totally see your point, because you just made me, when you said something about Ben, just needing a reason, it totally just threw me back to Anakin, and how like he was kind of resisting it in a way up until it looked like the Jedi turned on Chancellor Palpatine, and that's when everything kind of broke loose, and that's when he was like, no, and then he turned to the dark side,
right? So.
And that's the thing, is that was, we haven't learned much about Snoke, or really how he's been able to manipulate Ben, Kylo. But
he's definitely got his fangs out.
He does. And so that's what I'm really interested in seeing. And like I said, I think once this next movie comes out, everything will just come together, and I'll just be like, oh, okay, I get it. But right now, it's just like all these holes. And
it's an unfinished story.
It is. Yeah. I don't like holes.
Yeah.
It makes people angry.
It does. It absolutely does.
It makes me a little angry.
Venture into Twitter. It does. Absolutely.
But I do see that. And I mean, I don't know. And you're right. It has been a lot of years between Empire? Or is it
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. It's been a lot of years since Return of the Jedi, when we last saw Luke, to the Last Jedi.
You're right.
Those almost got me, though. Because they both have Jedi in them, and I was like, wait a second. I said them backwards.
Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah.
But, I mean, there's several years in between those. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens, a lot of stuff that goes on that causes Luke to sway. And at the same time, you gotta think this he is technically, at this point, other than Rey, but before this, he was the Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So he was trying to train up a whole new little system of Jedis to keep the balance, I guess, after he dies or something. But
see, that's what I'm wondering, because he even mentions in the movie that for a period there was balance. So maybe it was to continue the balance past that. I'm not sure. Another thing, though, I thought was interesting. Sorry to just shift gears there for a second, but another thing that I felt was interesting was Ben. So you know how he said that Ben left, or when he become conscious again after Ben tore the roof down.
Yeah.
He left with a handful of his students.
Yes.
So to me, that feels like Ben had already been working that angle of finding a reason to push those students to that point, you know?
Well, maybe not, though. I mean, all he really had to go out there and say was, oh my gosh, Luke just tried to kill me, his own nephew, and he could have spun it to something crazy.
So they didn't
because
know what they
he
were
knew I was
signing up
becoming
for.
stronger than
Okay.
him or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he could have went out there and said something crazy. I mean, he's a liar.
That's true.
He just said that Rey killed Snoke.
Mhm.
And then turned around and said that... No, did he?
Mhm.
I thought he lied about something. What did he lie about? There's something else he lied about, I thought.
He lied about the first, of how it actually went down with Luke, too.
Oh, yes, he did. So he's a liar. So I wouldn't be
He spun it
surprised.
the way... He didn't necessarily tell a lie, but he did not tell the whole truth.
Right. So, I mean, I wouldn't have put it past him that he went out there and was like, Luke just tried to kill me because he knows that I'm very capable and very strong, and I'm becoming stronger than him, and he doesn't want people to be stronger than him.
Your
And that
lives are in
handful,
danger now,
yeah.
too,
So that
yeah.
handful of people who really wanted to be Jedi, you know, at the point may not have seen the darkness, and they could have just went with him, and then before they knew it, they were roped into that darkness with Snoke and stuff, because it was the only way they could have gone. So, because at that point,
yeah.
they could think Luke's dead. And then...
There's nothing else for me.
Right. And
Yeah.
the people that were like, no, we don't believe you, or no, we're just going to go back home. Choom, 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 dead. So, I mean, we don't know right now
Yeah.
what happened.
That's true. And that's a story that I would definitely be interested in finding out more of, which I wonder if we will get that in Age of Resistance with the Kylo Ren comic series that'll be coming out.
Hopefully, because we don't really know
that would be interesting.
much about the Knights of Ren either. So,
Nothing about the Knights of Ren.
Right.
Other than that they're
the quick
Knights
little-
of Ren.
and that quick little flashback we get in
Right.
Force Awakens. So,
Yeah.
there's just so much I want to know.
But yeah, so I would be interested to know more about Ben for sure. So one thing that did bother me, and it's not necessarily that I disagreed with it or didn't like it or anything like that, was Poe and Holdo. I've seen a lot of split people about that. What did you think about their whole confrontation, the whole everything? Or whose side were you on, I guess?
It's hard to say.
Okay.
Poe's been there from the beginning, so you really want to trust Poe. And you really want to be on his side. But at the same time, you kind of see him always trying to defy Leia. And then, you know, once you kind of get to the movie, you're like, oh my gosh, like, Holdo was never... once you get to the movie, you realize Holdo was never trying to do anything to harm anyone. She was just trying to do something a little bit more secretive in order to get everyone out. So she was never, like, on the bad side, and Poe wasn't really on the bad side either. He just wanted to be in the know. And, I mean...
But so my thing, though, is that was he even privy to that, though?
To be in the know?
Yeah, because he's commander, cool, but that doesn't mean that the higher-ups always tell you exactly what's going on. Just because Leia did doesn't necessarily mean that that information is yours just to have.
Right. So, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure she had her reasons for not wanting to give away that information. Which, I mean, I guess it worked out that, well, not really, but at the end it still came to bite him in the butt. When, what's his face? DJ.
Yeah.
Gave everything up, but
Right.
I don't know. I don't really want to say I was on either one side, because, I mean, it flips, really. You're like, almost kind of like, oh my gosh, like, hold on, what is she doing? She's not doing anything. Like,
it kind of paints her as a villain.
It
for a
does.
moment. Yeah.
And then you see kind of Poe as the villain, because he's like, well, we're going to go take over. But I don't know, it's almost like you're like, yay, but then you're like, wait, no. That's kind of how I felt at first anyway. I was kind of like, because Poe's a little hothead. Like, he'll jump in a ship and just,
yeah.
He doesn't really care.
Yeah. He's not thinking of the consequence, as we see at the very beginning of the movie, which, by the way, amazing opening scene.
Very cool.
By one of my favorite opening scenes of a Star Wars movie.
Is it, though?
I think so.
Okay.
Because I love the X-Wing fights and all this other kind of stuff, and the bomber run and everything. Not wild about how slow the bombers are for some reason. Because we have
they're carrying a lot of bombs. So.
I guess. So.
You gotta go a little slow. You can't just race through space with those.
You could... you could add like an extra 10 miles per hour or something. I mean, like, you could give it a little bit of more oomph. But...
Well, Danny, all the ones that went an extra 10 miles per hour, they blew up, okay? So
they exceeded their limit.
So they had to go 30 miles an hour. 40 was just too fast.
Yeah. But with Poe, like, during that opening sequence, I mean, you see him lose an entire bombing fleet and more because he chose to do his own thing. Still comes back to the ship of there were heroes on that mission and everything. And Leia's like, yes, dead heroes.
Right.
But no leaders. And I think that's what sets the tone for Poe's story throughout this entire thing, because with everything that happens, for example, if he had not sent Finn and Rose to Canto Bight, then they would have never learned of the transports leaving the larger ship. They would have never met DJ. All of that would have been canceled out. They would have made it to the surface and lived to fight another day with larger numbers. Mm-hmm. But with him, it ended up being, I felt, his whole story was kind of like a lesson in leadership and humility, where he kind of made it seem like he knew the best thing for the Resistance, because he was the Resistance fighter, and he was the one that was going to lead them all to victory, and she was a coward, and all this other kind of stuff. Like, when he started yelling coward and traitor and all this other kind of stuff to her, like, when he was like, you're filling up the transports, I was like, oh, cool, they're getting away. And he's like, coward, traitor. It's like, all right, Kylo Ren, calm down. Like, you get a little worked up there, man.
Right.
Because, like, I mean, he did cross a line. Like,
he did.
It's like, dude, for one, you got demoted to captain, but you ignored that. Even though it was Leia's technical last request if she had passed away, that was, I mean, she demoted him from commander to captain. Mm-hmm. When he meets Holdo, he calls himself commander. Completely disregards that was Leia's order. Right. And so it almost kind of makes you think that he didn't really respect her leadership to the degree that he says he does.
Right. Well, I mean, you kind of get that sense in him the entire movie up until the end, when he's like, it's on, after he gets stunned, shot or whatever by Leia. He kind of always has this little attitude like, oh, I'm right. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm always that's right. I'm always the one that's right. You know what I'm saying? Like, my way or the highway kind of guy. And, I mean, honestly, even though it worked out good for them, well, other than the fact that they lost all the bombers and stuff, I mean, there was still a small victory, but there was a greater loss.
Right.
So, and that's
too
the
high
thing.
of a price.
Right. That's the thing that I think Leia was trying to get, to him about, is that, like, it's all great to win, but when your loss is bigger than your victory, then there's a problem. Mm-hmm. And
it reminds me of in Infinity War with Vision and Captain America, the "We don't trade lives, Captain."
Right.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yes, it sure does. And I don't know, like, and kind of fast forwarding a little bit too. And I mean, he does have to have some failures in order to learn and to be a better person, because I feel like in the upcoming movie, and then whenever we see him again, whether it be if they ever do another one, even if it's like not necessarily.
You mean outside of 9?
Right.
Okay.
Not necessarily like a continuation of sorts, because I think they made it like, for sure, this is the last one.
Yeah, 9 is definitely the end of the Skywalker saga.
Well, I didn't end of Skywalker, but I didn't know if they would try to continue on with like Poe, Rey, and Finn or something.
I don't think so, because I still think they're considering them part of the Skywalker saga.
Okay.
Now, they may show up in other things.
Right.
I don't know that it would be centrally focused around them, though. But, I mean, anything can happen. They also said twice that there weren't going to be any more Star Wars movies ever. So, we know where that went.
But just as every great leader needs failures, and kind of one of the things that Yoda says later in the movie, too, is the greatest teacher is failure. Mm-hmm. So, as much as it kind of stinks to think about that it was lives that were being traded for these failures, I think it will still make Poe a better leader.
Absolutely. I feel like at the end of the movie, he is where he needs to be.
Right.
For the Resistance. He gets it.
He does.
Because that's the thing is, like, I saw so much where it was all these people angry about Holdo, and it was because she was this woman who was throwing her weight around, all this other kind of stuff, and Poe, she should have just let Poe in on this and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, no, he didn't have a privilege to do that just because he's a character we like. Because that's the thing, is that up until now, all we know him as is a hotshot pilot.
Right.
We don't get anything else other than Poe. In the analogy that I thought of when we see him go from hotshot pilot, this awesome character and everything, from Force Awakens, to now we're kind of seeing a little bit behind the curtain. It's almost the equivalent of like you getting in trouble in front of your friends. How embarrassing that is and everything. And that's what happens to him. He's hotshot. He's got this facade. He's got this character he is. And
because he knows
he's getting his number called. Yeah. But, and that's the problem. He knows he's good. No one can tell him different.
Right.
But he has to learn to learn.
Right.
And that's what he does through this movie, is he learns to lead and not just be the guy that jumps up in an X-Wing and blows things up.
Right.
And so I think that's really good growth for his character, even though it's kind of painful to watch at times.
It is, and I really hate that people were like against Holdo, because I mean, yeah, I'm not saying she was necessarily in the right either, but at the same time, like, really and truly, what do you think, like, what would have happened if she would have been like, okay, Poe, this is my plan, this is what we're gonna do, like,
well, exactly what happened. Like, when he found out what the plan was, he flipped out.
Right, exactly.
It would just happened earlier in the movie.
Right, so it's like, really and truly, what do you, like, he would have threw his weight around. Was he not throwing a little temper tantrum, throwing his weight around?
Oh, absolutely.
Thinking he was like big man.
Oh, he went to kicking stuff around, throwing stuff around.
So it's like,
got removed from the bridge because he had so much of a temper.
Right. So I mean, they both had equal rights to be a little upset at each other too, because I mean, he wasn't the one that was put in charge. So, and that was for a good reason.
I love the final thing that Leia leaves him with on the transport when he wakes up, and he's like, no, we're doing this, oh my gosh. And she's just like, come sit with me for a second.
Right.
And she's like, Holdo was more interested in protecting the light than she was seeming like a hero. And then like you just see the visible just like stab on him. Like he's just kind of like,
gut punch.
Dang. It's like, well, you're right. There was a plan the whole time. And just like Holdo tried to tell him too. It's like, I can't remember what it was. Something about the sun.
If you don't believe in something you can't see or something, you won't make it through the night.
Something like that. Something to that effect, yeah. And that's essentially what it is that she was just basically trying to be like, yo, trust me. I got this. I'm going to key you in. Just
it's like if you don't believe in something you can't see, then you won't make it through the night. Like talking about the sun, because I mean, you obviously don't see the sun at night. So
right. So I
can't see it.
In all honesty, I feel like Poe probably had one of the biggest growths in the story. I think he is the one that is keyed in and ready for episode 9.
I do too, and I actually was going to say, I do think that's going to be one of the positives coming out of this movie to episode 9, because I think, and as much as we all dread it, we know that Leia can be no more when episode 9 comes around. And I know we've really talked about it a lot just between us, and then a couple times on the podcast about what we think will happen. And honestly, just my honest opinion, I don't think she will be able to continue like living throughout the Star Wars. Like, I don't think they can just keep her alive through it and just, respectfully retire her or something, because I feel like she's just such a force. Like, she's not gonna take that. So I think they're just gonna have to respectfully remove her. I'm trying to say something, I'm trying to be respectful, because it's still really sensitive, and I hate thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I think with Poe's learning and stuff, I think he'll be able to jump into like something like what she was.
And we
in
even
almost.
see on Crate when he's like, "Follow me," and then they all look back at Leia. She's like,
and she looks behind her, and she's like, "What are you looking at me for?" Yeah, follow him. So, and I think that was really cool, because I feel like that was kind of her giving the reins to him.
Yeah,
because I mean, obviously she's still trucking around with. I mean, which she didn't have the cane at first through the movie, but once she got popping out the window, she starts with that little cane. I think that's gonna be the decline of her, but. She still was making it, and I think that was kind of her way of giving the reins over, because that was her way of like seeing that he's on the right path now. He's more so about trying to get everyone out instead of trying to be the hero or be the legend or something. You know what I mean?
He's not trying to trade lives and trying to seem like a hero. He's making the leadership calls, and just like he does at the very end, even though in the grand scheme it's more of a minor call than most, he gets it though. Where he's like, nah, this is a suicide run. We got to get out of here.
Right.
And which leads me actually to the next characters that I want to talk about are Finn and Rose.
Yes.
So I want to talk about Finn first and his little self-sacrifice move on Crate. What did you think about that?
So I can't lie to you. For me, Finn through this movie, I felt like his character really stepped backwards.
Really?
To me, it did.
Okay.
Because I know I talked to you once before about how I felt like the only thing on his mind, up until a certain point, like first he pops out the bed, with water gushing out of him, or
Finn naked leaking bag, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it was. And then his first thought is Rey. So he's like, "Where's Rey?" Figures out there's a beacon. There's a beacon for Rey, in order for her to find her way back. And once he gets that, he tries to actually take off so that he can land and get Rey back safely without her coming back to a destroyed shuttle in the air or anything.
Right.
And it's just like, once that part ends and stuff, and he meets Rose, and they decide that they have to go do this, or whatever. It's just like, I don't know. The only thing he's focused on to me is just like revenge the whole time. Like, it's not really, and to me, when we first see him in Force Awakens, he really is just trying to run away. But I don't know, like
he literally goes from one extreme to the other. He tries to run away, and then he tries to kill himself to kill them.
Pretty much. And I don't know. It'd be, I don't know. I'm just so torn, because it's like, yeah, I can understand his whole wanting to run away, because he obviously saw firsthand what happened with the First Order. And then kind of closer to the end of the movie, he actually kind of steps up and he's like, "Oh, I have knowledge. Ooh, I can help you. Ooh, I can do this." And there was so much empowerment there, I feel like. And then he takes that backslashing from Kylo. So I could see him, being a little angry, but at the same time, flying himself into that giant beam wasn't going to defeat the First Order.
Right.
Like, what? Like, what?
They would have just been like, all right, bring out the other one. Bring out the backup.
Right. Like, I mean, there were like 6 giant gorilla things standing out there. Like,
right. You don't think that could have blown up the door?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, okay, fly your tiny ship into that big beam and let me know how that works out for you. So I was just bothered by that move. I mean, I don't know.
Well, so the way I feel about Finn, and I like that you brought up Force Awakens on that too, because I mean, he does go one extreme to the other for sure. And then that moment of empowerment, like, I know things, I can help, I can do the things and everything. Like, it's even so bad to where he's talking over poor Rose, who's trying to give the same info, and he's like, heroes are talking. Like, goes in, which that bothers me a little bit. But at the same time, like, he does have that moment of empowerment, like, I can do something, I can make a difference and everything. And then it's like, once they get caught by DJ, or not by DJ, but by the First Order with DJ and all that kind of stuff, it's all of a sudden like he doubts everything because he went through and he gave it his best. He used his knowledge. He tried this espionage thing and tried to do something to save the resistance. And in the end, he didn't do anything. He couldn't help. He failed.
Pretty
and
much.
I think in all honesty, like that, I think that's what's interesting is that in each of our characters, Finn, Rose, Rey, Poe, all of them, we see how, and even Kylo, we see how failure affects them.
Right.
Because the big theme of this entire movie is the greatest teacher failure is.
Right.
Like that is the theme. Because with Finn's failure, he decides that, you know what? Forget this. I'm going to show him what I can do, and I'm going to stop him. I'm going to sacrifice my life to help the rest of them because I'm not worth it. Because, I mean, you got to think, it wasn't necessarily I'm saving my life to save someone else. You giving my life to save someone else. It was, I'm just giving my life.
Right.
He gave up at that point.
Giving myself to the cause, essentially.
Right. And you got to imagine that he probably tried to justify it some way, but in no way did he look like he was making that self-sacrifice. It looked like he was just like, I have nothing to live for. I tried, and I failed.
Right.
And I feel like Rose was there to kind of help him. I mean, even though she slams herself in him and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, she almost does what she's trying to prevent him from doing.
Pretty much.
So, I mean, I feel like that could have gone differently, but at the same time, being on Crate, there really wasn't another way he could have been stopped.
Yeah, it's not like she could have ran in front of the ship and was like, wait, stop. Like, you could run in front of cars every now and then. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like, no, Finn, stop.
Right.
So, I mean, I get it. There really wasn't any other thing to do, but I mean, I feel like Rose was there to remind him of his humanity and that he still is more than a stormtrooper, like he found with Rey.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what she says to him, too, which, I mean, I can't lie. That line kind of makes me cringe. But at the same time, it's still sweet. It does mean something because, you know, that's when she says that we're not fighting for the things that we hate. Mm-hmm. We're fighting for the things.
We're not, don't fight what we hate, save what we love.
Yeah, sorry. I totally said it totally wrong. But yes,
that's
exactly.
how we're going to win. That's
how we're going to win. So, and I mean, even though it's kind of cringy and it's cheesy and you're kind of like, I mean, it's true though. I mean, you know, with people that have lost so much, you have to have some remainder of hope with things. So you really have to fight for those things that you do love.
And thinking about it on the other side, the stormtrooper mentality, I mean, he was expendable with the First Order.
He was.
And so you got to think that might have something to play into that as well. Because in the First Order, you die, cool, send someone else in this place.
Right.
Same thing with the Empire. They were the same way. And so you were a number. FN2187. That was it. That's who you were to them. Nothing else. You weren't a person. And I feel like he's learning to be a person. And a lot of that conditioning and stuff like that from the First Order is still ingrained in him, which is why he tried to make that self-sacrifice move unnecessarily. Because, I mean, just like you said, and like we said while we were watching the movie, it's like, okay, let's really think about that for a second. So we run a plane down the center of this thing. You're telling me that something that can crack open a giant metal door like an egg is going to be stopped by a smaller piece of metal running through the middle of it.
Right.
No. That's like going, you know what? I'm going to run my X-Wing into the middle of the Death Star. That's what's going to do it.
Right. Maybe a small dent, but I mean, unless you had like 60 bombs strapped onto you, it wasn't going to...
They're going to be like, Bob, can you clean that off? Clean that off right there? Thank you. I
feel like it just would have reminded me of like a bug flying into a light.
Right. Oh, no.
Don't look into the light. I can't help it. It's so beautiful. And then you're just like, okay. Like, and it's all the little noise you hear.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree. And so I feel like in some ways, yes, he went backwards because Finn still has a lot more to learn. But in the same time, too, he did have an amount of growth. But I don't think those lessons have hit yet because he's still working on that. You know what I mean? And I feel like that was the purpose of Canto Bight, too. Because I love how, like, Rose goes through and describes it as this disgusting place. Like, you're expecting a place like friggin' Mos Eisley, and you get there and it's this glamorous
and
casino.
He's like,
this is amazing!
Right, and you know, I try to think about it, too. Like I said, we always try to find the positive in what we're talking about. And so I try to keep in mind, too, that even though throughout this movie, Finn's not my favorite character, and like I said, I almost feel like his character progresses
Regresses, you mean?
Regresses.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like his character regresses. You got to think about, like you said, for him, for several years, he was just a number. Mm-hmm. And so this is the first time he's really been out in the world and he's actually experiencing things. So, like you said, that conditioning is still there. And so, I mean, a lot of this is really new, and there's a lot of new emotions, and sometimes, he probably just, for lack of better...
He gets caught up in it, yeah.
Yeah, and for lack of better, terms, really, even though he's a grown man, he's kind of like a teenager.
Absolutely.
Who's dealing with a lot of feelings and
he's
emotions and...
literally the galaxy for the first time.
Right.
That's why he's like, what are you talking about? This is amazing.
Right.
What about this is awful? And then that's when she goes into her story and everything, basically kind of showing him that not everything is what it seems.
Right.
And so, yes, it's beautiful. Yes, this is luxurious and this is crazy cool looking and everything, but this is what it took to get there.
Right.
And it's built on things that are evil and everything. And I think that was important for him to see, because it's like, oh man, I see this all on the surface. And he doesn't think to look deeper than that as to the why, which is a lesson he gets from DJ about the whoever they stole that ship from. He was an arms dealer. And so talking about how he's selling for both sides and it's all just a machine, man. And I felt like we were watching Hyde from that 70s show. It's a machine, man. It's the government.
Right.
But
the Illuminati.
Right. But at the same time, I mean, he's right. It's endless war because people are being made rich off of this stuff.
Right.
So obviously, if that's how you're making your money, they're going to keep feeding the war machine and everything.
Right, exactly.
And so I feel like he got a lot of eye-opening things, and I wonder too if finding that out played into his decision in that final moment where he tried to sacrifice himself.
It could have. Because you got to imagine in that moment too, because it's one of the scenes that I think, even though it's not a very big scene, it's still, to me, it kind of sticks with me because it's like, wow, there really isn't necessarily a good or bad side.
There's a third team behind all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you got to imagine that, he's technically been on both sides at this point. And, I don't want this to sound all sad, but maybe he kind of just I don't want to be on either team. I'm just going to do what I can for the team that I like to believe
if this
more
is how
in.
it's going to be, it's not worth it.
Right. I'm going to sacrifice myself for the people that I know have treated me better. But this is
And then they're like, dude, no, slow down.
Right.
We love you, dude. No, don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Stop, Finn. No, stop.
We love you, Finn.
It's thanks. We love you too, dude. But you don't have to do that. Just so you know.
Right.
We'd like you to stick around.
Don't be that gnat that flies into the bug catcher.
Right. So, I do feel like there was an amount of growth, but I feel like more with him, it was a lot of lessons started.
Yeah.
Rather than lessons learned at the time. It was almost like all of the stuff was just opened up to him.
Right.
And all of this world was just opened up to him. And at that point, he's just like, you know what? Forget this. I don't want any more.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah.
So yeah. So, talked about Poe. Talked a little bit about Finn. Mm-hmm. And a little bit of Rose, which Rose isn't really... We're still learning.
Oh, I think Rose was there mainly in this movie to really set Finn and teach Finn things and show him around kind of things.
Right.
Because she was on that ground floor of what the First Order did to people.
Yeah, and can I say too, I think Finn works better if he's got someone to care about.
Oh, absolutely.
Because throughout Force Awakens, he had Rey that he kind of fought for, and then throughout this movie, he had Rose.
Yeah.
That he kind of had to look after. So I feel like he has to be able to look after somebody.
Well, it's almost like people are showing him around.
Right.
He's never been out in the galaxy by himself and not as a stormtrooper. So Rey showed him part of himself.
Right.
And he discovered who he was through Rey. He discovered he was a friend and that there was something worth fighting for. And with Rose, he discovered how the world really works.
Right.
And the things that are happening. And even though he made the wrong decision, it didn't quite... It was a little bit more of a visceral reaction, but she showed him how the world really is.
Right.
And led him into that. And so I'm interested to see where Finn lands in episode 9, how he is on that now. Because now he's had someone actually attempt to sacrifice their life for his.
Right.
And now and basically tell him that his life is worth living and that others think so as well.
Right. And so I think that will be I think that'll be a really good growth moment for him in the next movie.
Definitely.
So we got a little bit about Rose. We talked about Luke earlier.
Yeah.
Do we want to move on to Rey, or do we want to
Let's do Rey and Kylo.
Okay.
Because I think they come as a package deal in this movie.
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, I hate to say it, because I'm not going to lie, I can't really give a detailed good reason at the moment, but I'm just not a fan of Rey.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And like I said, I can't really just, like, write it out for you as to why I don't like her. I mean, there's small things that, like, are starting to bother me about her.
I know you were, like, picking on her face earlier.
I was, and I'm sorry. Like I said, it's probably just petty, really and truly. Because think about it, like, when you don't like somebody, you're going to start picking out all their flaws.
Look
You're
at their
like,
face.
look at her hair. Oh, my God. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I know it's a little petty, but I'm just like, I can't figure out what it is about her character. And I know, honestly, I can tell you this, though. Like, she didn't really bother me as much in The Force Awakens.
Okay.
I wasn't really like, oh, my God, I love Rey. She's the best female character ever.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason in this movie, she seems so, like, childlike to me. Like, one minute she's like, you're a monster! And then she starts crying.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, girl, simmer down with all those emotions.
Well, so,
like,
but you gotta put it in perspective, though, that not days before, Han was killed right in front of her.
I know.
So,
I'm not gonna say, I know.
it's a little raw. A little.
A little, but I don't know. I just, like, I get so bothered how she was just so quick to, like, she was just like this little hothead, and she was just, like, so angry and yelling at him, and then the next minute she's, like, crying with him, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was just so bothered by her emotions flip-flopping. It's like I couldn't really gauge, like, much about her, other than she can handle a lightsaber pretty well. That was the only thing she was kind of confident in, you know? So, I don't know.
Well, can I give you my take on it?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So the reason I feel like Rey was emotional, as you've delicately said, the reason I feel like that we see that range and everything is, so if you think about it, other than Chewie, which I don't know that they really had that moment together or not, or anything like that, because we don't see that. So it's not necessarily known that her and Chewie had a moment to grieve together or anything like that. The closest that we've seen to grieving, it was in The Force Awakens when she goes and she hugs Leia. It's like, hey, I understand.
Right.
And there was that understanding between them two. And even though she knew Han for a short time, just like Kylo called her out in this one and in Force Awakens, how she was looking for that father figure.
Right.
You see him as a father. And you've already put him in that place, and the thing in Force Awakens, he would have disappointed you. And then goes through and he's digging at her in this one too. I think that because she has had no one for so long on Jakku, that she easily attached to Han very, very quickly, and at the same time, like, she really hasn't grieved. I think she had a moment with Leia. And then, so essentially what that comes down to is, if you think about it, because Luke's shutting her out this whole time, the only one she's had to be able to grieve with or reason anything with is Kylo.
You're not wrong. I don't know. Like I said, I just...
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's why you see the range of emotions of, you're a monster, monstrous snake, and all this other kind of stuff. And literally at one point, pretty much the whole time, Kylo's like, yeah, I am. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which I found interesting is it an admission of, this is who I am now? Or is it more of an admission of guilt?
Right.
Of, I know what I did was wrong.
Yeah.
Because even Snoke points out
he's weak.
The deed, he's weak, and the deed split his spirit to the bone. Because he's like, I killed Han Solo. It's like, simmer down, Rockstar.
Right.
It's like, I can feel the conflict. You're literally ripped in two.
Right. Like,
Calm
yeah,
down.
you did, but you cry every night about it. So.
Right. And when faced with the choice to take out his mother, he doesn't.
Right.
Which didn't mean anything, because he told them, follow my lead, and he's about to go shoot, and he doesn't shoot. So they're probably like, weapons malfunction.
Right.
And then shot.
Like, oh my.
They're like, you can't do it? Cool. We'll do it for you, Mr. Kylo Ren.
Submit your ship for inspection. Blasters work fine, sir.
Right. But yeah, so I think that's important to kind of take into play for her character is that this whole time, the reason that she's able to be so close to Kylo and everything was, for one, she doesn't have a choice. Like, Snoke's pretty much forcing the interactions on both of them. Like, she's literally like, can we just not do this now?
Right.
He's like, yeah, I wish we couldn't either.
I'm also shirtless.
Right. Well, it's like when you're a kid and your parents put you in the friendship T-shirt when you've been fighting or whatever, and it's like, now hug it out. So it's like forcing them to talk, because it's like, okay, I have no one else. You're here. I hate you, but we've got to talk anyways, because otherwise you're not going to go away. So here it is. So I think that played a lot into all that and everything. And then I think that played a lot into the childish side of where she was like, oh, I believe it. He's going to turn. The moment's going to come where he's going to turn. Well, yeah, you're not wrong. But if you would have stayed for probably lesson 3 with Luke, he probably would have told you about the future and how it changes and it's not set in stone.
Right.
Like,
I saw his future.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like she jets off and everything, and it's like, cool, so you're a Jedi? Well, I had 2 lessons once.
Right. Half.
Right.
2/3 of the way? Jedi?
Right.
Is that a thing? Does that exist?
I'm a quarter Jedi.
Right.
But I mean, I think that may attribute to some of the annoyance you found in her. I don't claim to be the authority, but that's how I interpret
you know me
it.
pretty well, so. I mean,
yeah.
You ain't wrong. Like I said, it's not like I'm saying she was poorly written or she was terrible. And
right.
It's, like I said, it's honestly me probably just being a little petty about it, the way she does things, because I feel like she was just like an emotional little like roller coaster all throughout. But
yeah. Well, and knowing you, I guess getting a little personal with you, you're not the one to play victim. You never have since the day I met you.
Right.
You've always been the one to be like, all right, cool. Bad things happen.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Sucks. Exactly. That sucks. Let's move on and everything. So
I know
I think
I'm
that's
not
part of that. Yeah.
I'm not the best at like dealing with people who are like upset or sad.
Yeah.
Like I may just give you a little pat on the back and be like,
They're there.
I'm sorry, but like I literally I just move on. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't like grieve things or anything like that. Like, but there's a certain time frame from where you need to. Like I said, suck
There's
it
a
up,
certain
Buttercup.
point when you're not the victim and
right,
you move on and you have to make a choice. I get that.
And so I think that's what kind of got me about her is like she just, not to say she was playing victim or anything, but it's just like, I don't know. I just
well, and there were a lot of moments where even though Luke was very pessimistic and very kind of against teaching her really anything, like she still came across as I know more than you and everything. And so it wasn't necessarily I'm ready to receive all the teachings, because there were times where she was like, yeah, totally. Especially like when they're with the first lesson where he's like, all right, now reach out.
I'm not gonna lie, that part is really funny though. And she fits her hand out and then he starts tickling with that little like
I've never felt anything like this.
What is that? It's the horse. Oh my god. That part is really funny though. I am glad there's a few like humorous moments that like really make the movie really great, but there's a few too that I'm just like
I heard that. You just said the movie was great. I'm just teasing.
I mean,
I'm just messing with you.
Don't make me beat you up. There are some great moments.
Yeah.
There are. But it's like, I don't know, it's like great moment, weirdness. Great moment, weirdness. Great moment, what the heck? Great moment.
That what the heck was the thalassiren, the milk and everything, wasn't it?
Yes. I'm still planning on watching that documentary apparently about
the
it.
The director and the Jedi?
Yes, we're gonna watch it, but I don't care. Like I don't think there's anything maybe I could say about that part that's gonna make me like, oh yeah, I totally respect that now.
I completely get why that needed to be in the movie.
I totally think he needed to drink some blue milk.
I think Ray summed it up. I've seen your daily routine. You're not that busy.
Right. So, but yeah, I don't know. One thing I did kind of want to mention and take part of, when we get that throne room scene and they finish up that fight, and one of the things that Kylo says essentially is like, let the past die. Like, take my hand, we'll start a new thing together, and we'll just bring a new like vision to the galaxy.
Mhm.
And I know this is going to sound kind of awful, but I actually honestly looked at Danny and I was like, I kind of feel like she should do it. And I know she doesn't. I've seen the movie. I know that's not what happens.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, I guess because like you've been watching so long, there be the Resistance, the Rebels, the Empire, the First Order, the Galactic. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much. And it's just gone on and on to generation. All you're doing is just fighting each other over what? Like, what are we even fighting over? Literally, what are we fighting over?
Control of the galaxy.
Right. So, like, can we just divvy it up? Can we
Take your
just
corner,
say,
I'll take mine, we're good.
this
It's a big
land is
galaxy.
your land, this land is my land? Like, come on. Can we just divvy it up and be done? And whoever wants to live over there, go live in the weird orderness, and then everyone else go be free or something.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, it almost was kind of, like, when he said it, like, to me, it almost sounded kind of nice, because I was like, maybe this would mean no more war. Like, no more First Order, no more Resistance, no more war. Like, what would it look like? And so that was kind of like just my first thought to that. Yeah, that's like what my first thought was, because like I know it sounds kind of bad. You're like, oh, no, don't take Kylo's hand. No, you know what I mean? Like, I know.
Yeah.
Not saying like it's the best, like Kylo is the best role model or anything.
So are you saying that if I would have proposed to you with, you're nothing, but not to me, you would have said yes? I'm disturbed that you're thinking about it.
No, I'm debating if I should punch you in the face or not. And I decided that'd be really mean, because then we'd have to stop what we're doing, go get you some ice, and possibly take you to the doctor for a broken nose. Possibly some knocked out teeth, depending on...
Yeah, see, there were a couple moments where he had it. He was doing good.
Until he was like,
and then
"You're
he was
nothing.
like, he took the personal
You're
shots.
nobody."
Yeah, you're nobody. You're nothing. But
Right.
not to me. Was that supposed to make me feel better?
Right?
Oh, great. I'm something to you, you murderer.
Right? You murder snake. Which I guess she deserved it. She was calling him names the whole time.
I mean, yeah.
But like, this is what kind of popped in my head though, when he was talking about let it die, kill it if you have to. I was just like, wow, like what would it be like to see a galaxy with no war, with it being like no Empire, no First Order.
But would it have been, though? That would be the big thing.
That's true, because the Empire did get knocked out and it rose back up as the First Order. So who's to say that somebody else wouldn't come back up and try to start something? You know what I mean? So
the best line to describe that, when Snoke says, "Darkness rises and light to meet it," is every single time something comes up in its place, then something comes up to take it down.
That's
it's
true.
Just a constant cycle. So yeah.
But I was still like,
that would be interesting to know, though. If it would be a clone of the First Order, if it would be good.
And maybe
in any
like,
way.
yeah, maybe with like her being light and him being dark, maybe there would have been like a mutual, like, we're not fighting. Like, I can side with my people and you can side with your people, and we can have this common agreement, this common ground that we're not gonna fight about this, and this, whatever. Like, we're gonna debate it and we're gonna figure it out more civilly.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and so one indicator that I do think that if she had joined him and they decided to just, make up and be done or whatever, and just like, yeah, you know what? Let it all die. Cool. Sounds good. Let it all burn or whatever. Because I honestly feel like he's, even though he goes through periods where it's like all of a sudden you see human Ben Solo and everything, this heart of him, you see it. At the same time, he's still that level of evil. Because, he goes through you're nothing, but not to me, trying to manipulate her.
Right.
Because it looks like it comes from a heartfelt place.
Right.
But if I ever walked up to you and was like, baby, you're nothing, but not to me, that's not gonna fly. Like, come on. And so, like, in any other context, no, that's ugly. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, so we see him on Crate facing down Luke after he's lost everything.
Oh, Lord.
And all that kind of
he
stuff.
Was angry.
He was very angry, but that's when his true self comes out, because the first thing he says to Luke is, "Have you come to save my soul?"
Right.
And Luke's
Have
like,
you come to
no. Yeah.
Ask for my forgiveness.
Ask
or
for
something
forgiveness. Have you come to save my soul? And he's
like,
no. I already know you're gone. Because, like, you can just visibly tell Kylo ain't having it. Ben's gone. He's checked out.
Yeah.
Kylo ain't having it.
You're right. So
he's so blinded by rage that he's not questioning, why is he holding the lightsaber Rey and I just destroyed?
Right. Why?
Yeah.
Why did he leave no footprints?
Right.
Why
Why does he look 20 years younger?
Right.
He looks exactly how I left him.
Right.
At his age today. Something's weird here. There were a lot of
confused.
things that he could have literally sat there and stared at him for a second and go, yeah, you're not here, dude.
But he was so immersed in his own anger, like you wouldn't notice that.
So blinded. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's why a lot of people act out of anger,
Mhm.
and they don't notice things like they're like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't remember how I did that."
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were angry,
All I
Benny.
saw was red.
You were angry, Ben. That's why you punched a hole in the wall. Did I do that? I'm just hang this cute picture up on top of it. It's fine. Nobody would notice.
We'll frame it.
Right. Ben's first hole.
But yeah, so I'm trying to think. So on Crate, what did you think overall of Luke's and Kylo's final showdown?
It's honestly, it's pretty cool.
Mhm.
You definitely see a lot of the childness or the childlike mentality come out of Kylo, especially in the beginning when he's like, "Have you come to forgive me?" And then, I'm trying to remember exactly what he says, but Luke says something to him, and he's like, I don't think he said betrayed you, but
I failed you.
I failed you.
Yeah.
And you just, I don't know, Kylo just gets so whiny, and I don't remember exactly what he says. Do you? Can you remember that scene?
I know at one point he says, I can't remember exactly how Luke says it or anything like that, but I know the reply is like, "I'm sure you have,"
Yeah.
or whatever. And it's just kind of like, really?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you see those
You lead
little-
off with the "Have you come to save my soul?" and then go into "I'm sure you have,"
Right, but I mean,
or "I'm sure you are," or something like that.
right.
Or, yeah.
Luke kind of gives him a taste of his own mess too when he wipes like the dust off his shoulder after he like,
Yeah. Well, and even at the part, yeah. And even at the part though when he's facing down Luke and Luke's like, "Strike me down and I'll be with you always," and then he waits for a second and he goes, "Just like your father."
Right.
Like literally, I felt like that was like the equivalent of his "your mama" joke or whatever.
Your
It was just kind
mama.
of like, it was like, all right, well, yeah, I'll be with you forever. We can leave it there. Just like your father.
Right.
And so that was the last sting because, I mean, you can visibly see it has split him.
Right.
He is not okay in the least. This is not the demeanor of a cold-blooded killer. Like,
Yeah.
he killed his father. He is unbalanced. He is
Unhinged.
unhinged, unpredictable. I mean, he's something else entirely.
He's a lot of
now.
uns.
Yeah, a lot of uns. Unraveled. But yeah, so I mean, I think that it's going to be really interesting seeing where Kylo goes with Episode 9. I wouldn't be opposed to him like shaving his head or something, like something ridiculously crazy.
I know.
or
I
whatever.
joked that he needed a man bun earlier, just because like throughout that scene with him and Luke fighting, it's like his hair's everywhere. And I was like, he needs a man bun.
It's like, dude, maintenance,
Right. Yes, queen. I like the man bun. I'm just kidding. Grow your hair out, Danny.
If I grow my hair out, it becomes a fro. So
I know.
we're not doing that.
It's okay. I was just messing with you.
Mullet and then fro.
One thing about while we're on Kylo though and talking about that crate scene, I do find really funny is when he's in the ship with Hux. And he like when he first sees Luke, he's like, "Oh, the firepower we have right there on that guy," and so he's like, "More, more!" And he's just like yelling that he wants all the firepower, and it's just kind of like everyone's just kind of like, "Oh my god, this dude's crazy! This dude's crazy!"
Wasting all these resources on a projection.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And then I like how Hux gets like thrown to the side and the other guy's like, "Yes, sir. Right away, sir."
It's like, remember our mission. We are here to achieve one goal, and just throws him like, "Right away, sir."
So, I mean, there's just a lot of childlike things that come out in Kylo, but
Which you actually had an interesting thought after Luke disappears and all that kind of stuff. He goes in to pick up the dice. about now that he's supreme leader and everything, and all of these witnesses.
Oh yeah. I doubt this will happen though. But
It'd be interesting to see if it would.
But I mean, you gotta imagine that after all that firepower, and then Luke literally just like, bye,
Yeah,
and just like disappears into oblivion, back to that island. You gotta imagine he's super embarrassed. Like he literally just wasted so many resources on a projected
time, resources, everything
like,
on
force.
on a hologram,
Right,
basically. Yeah,
pretty much. And so, like one of the things I looked at Danny and I was like, he could like kill everybody from like
eliminate all the witnesses. Yeah.
right, and just make it seem like the resistance, like somebody came and helped them. You know what I mean? Like or something crazy.
Or blame it on Luke, just like
Blame
he
it on
blamed
Luke.
Snoke on Rey.
Right,
Blame
like
it on Luke, yeah.
just tear them all up and haul it out of there, and
I escaped with my life.
right, something like that. I was like,
Yeah.
that'd be really interesting because, I mean,
It really depends on if he's gotten to that dark of a place,
right.
Which I mean, it's quite possible
It
because
could be,
even though
'cause-
he didn't physically kill Luke, he made the decision to kill Luke.
Right, he did.
So I mean, that was at that point he was just like, you know what, forget it, and then he slices right through him. Even though he didn't kill him, he still made that action and that choice.
He did, and he had just killed Snoke. And I mean, I'm not gonna say it would be like something that'd be uncommon for him because I mean, don't we see in like the Phasma comics too, where she apparently goes and kills people who know that she put down the shield.
Yeah.
And then
and then Kylo actually kills Lor Santekka at the beginning of Force Awakens too. So
Right.
killing is not unusual to him. It's just
Right.
he's never killed someone that close to him, I guess. So
right. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we don't really see what happens after they take off in the Falcon, so we don't know what happens on Crate at that point. So I
Yeah.
mean, there could be a giant massacre on Crate. And,
it's very possible because I mean Hux is knocked out at this point. But I mean, you can just imagine all of them.
I mean, he'd probably
talking
kill Hux
about
though,
it,
because
though.
Hux
That's
is
the thing.
annoying.
Yeah, but I mean, you can just imagine all of them talking about it. Like,
Right.
hey, yeah, I was on Crate, and Kylo Ren went nuts on this hologram. So,
Ooh, and that might be interesting too, because we see at the end those kids at the very end, and they're playing, and they look like they have some like giant, almost like AT like things set up, and one of them says Luke Skywalker.
yeah.
So I wonder if, because we don't even know what that kid was saying because
Right.
they were speaking another like
Another
language.
alien language.
Yeah, another dialect. Is that right? Dialect. Okay. Another dialect. But what if that kid had heard that? What if that story was like Luke took out the whole First Order on Crate?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we didn't hear that story. We just know we saw those big ATs and we heard Luke Skywalker.
That's true.
So
That would be interesting.
that could be
And
the
that would
story.
add to the legend of Luke Skywalker, too.
It would. I mean, it wouldn't be a proud moment, but at the same time, like, would you rather admit that one Jedi could take out a lot of First Order, or would you rather admit that you used all your firepower to shoot in hologram one? And you also went out there to fight him, too.
Yeah. You literally
And-
just shot a hole into the ground for no reason whatsoever.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, theory.
That would be
So-
interesting. That would be interesting. Because that's the thing is, like, that's one thing that Luke had mentioned when he was talking to Rey about the Jedi, is that they were romanticized, even deitized and everything. And so it wouldn't be unusual that they're like, yeah, he did go out there with his laser sword and face down the whole First Order.
Right.
Which every time that line comes up now that we know how it ends, I'm just like, ha ha.
Right.
Good one, Luke.
Right. Oh, you foreshadower, you. I know.
But yeah. What did you think of Luke's death at the end?
Very respectful, I thought. It's much better than like cutting him in half.
Well,
Or
yeah,
just stabbing
there's
him.
that. Yeah.
Or throwing him out a window.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of the other ones. I don't think we see many heads roll.
No. Well, in Clone Wars, there's
Oh, well.
been a lot of them.
Not many
And
Jedi ones,
Jango,
though.
but no Jedi.
Yeah, like, no Jedi ones, though. Those are more for the clones.
Well, Anakin said you can't kill a Jedi.
Stop it. So, I mean, I do think it was a very respectful way for him to kind of just fade away in a way, because that's essentially what it was. It was the end of, because I mean, if he would actually come to Crate, like if he actually would have left that island and went to Crate, like
It would have been a massacre.
it would have, and
Yeah.
that wouldn't have. What would that have done? What good
Right.
would that have been? Just to be like, I'm here, like.
Well, and I think that in a lot of people's minds, like Luke said, they had been romanticized and deitized that Luke was going to come up there with some super force powers and actually be blocking all of those things like that, and that he would be untouchable and like Super Saiyan Luke or something, like kind of stuff like that. And that's not it. That's not a Jedi,
Right.
You know? A Jedi's not going to go instigate a fight. They're protectors and everything, and that's what Luke learned. And I mean, there's no way that he would have shown up.
Exactly.
And I don't feel like that's any kind of cowardice. I feel like it's very intelligent.
Right.
Because just like he said it very sarcastically. What do you want me to do? Face down the whole entire First Order with a laser sword? It's like, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, Luke, I do.
Yeah, actually, if you could, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
We're going to be meeting here on Thursday. Just to
Right.
let you know. 8 p.m. Be there, be square.
Right. So, I mean, it just wouldn't have done any good to really have it end any other way. I feel like any other way would have been very disrespectful to the Skywalker saga. And I do, and I do hate the freaking Leia popping scene when she pops out of there. Like, and one of the things I know I told you, I really wish, and I feel like Admiral Akbar's death was really in vain too. Like, I feel like it was really unnecessary. Because I mean,
that one did feel like a clearing out the characters kind of.
it kind of did, because it was like there really was no there was nothing to it. You know what I mean? There was no heartfelt yeah, they did kind of say like, oh, it's sad, but Leia would tell us to grieve later. I don't know, whatever she says.
Well, so the other side of that though is that, I mean, you got a lot more of Akbar because of the Clone Wars. Think about the people who just had him in the movies, and literally his only line is, "It's a trap."
But still, though, like, to clear out that whole leaders, all those leaders on the deck, and there not be some type of like emotional tie or pull to it, like, was really just unnecessary for me.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's been other times where other big characters... He did seem like
he was an afterthought.
Yeah, and there's been other times where other big characters have fallen and died, but there's always some type of, like, you know, repercussions for it. Like, there's somebody who's trying to take out the person that did it, or there's some, like, big, like, oh my gosh, like, you know what I'm saying? There's more, like, there's, like, something to it. There's a heartstring. Yeah. And there was nothing in that, really, that drew heartstring to me, and I almost really wish, they would have had a different way to manifest those powers for Leia. Because to me, her just floating around in space and then moving her little fingers and pulling herself back in was just really unnecessary.
Well, I don't feel like the act of it was unnecessary. I feel like the execution was poor.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I wish
visually it looked strange.
It did.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish they would have been like something completely opposite. Like, I wish it would have been like they're firing on the deck or something like that, and she was able to, like, I don't know, like, force shield or something, you know what I'm saying, and keep people from just, like, dying, or keep a few people from dying, you know what I mean? Like, I wish there had been something more heroic from it, instead of her just floating in space and her staying alive. She's the sole survivor.
Yeah. and nobody was like, how?
Right, exactly. So I just wish it had been more something a little bit more heroic to it, instead of being like, because that's what Leia is. Leia's a very heroic person. She's always normally has her blaster, and she's always running into battle. So I feel like having one little heroic scene throughout this movie would have been very touching.
But you don't feel like that if she were to shield the bridge somehow or do something crazy like that. Do you not feel like that would have overshadowed Luke and Rey, though, as being the primary Force users in the story?
No, I mean, I feel like obviously they wanted to throw a hint in there that Leia had the Force. So, I mean, like, why do it that way, though? Like, I mean, it could have been something smaller. It didn't have to be necessarily like a Force shield. It could have been her doing like what Broom Boy did and picking up her cane. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't have to be anything big. Yeah. It could have been really something small and very minor that we almost didn't really notice. But I just feel like her being the sole survivor on that deck was just really odd. Yeah. To me. Like, that's honestly probably my least favorite scene throughout that movie.
I agree.
Like, literally very bottom.
That
least
scene
favorite.
made me very angry the first time I watched it.
Right.
I was like, "You're seriously killing her this way?" Oh wait, no, she's Mary Poppins. That's cool.
Right, exactly. And even if they were trying to do some like nearly near death experience for her, like it was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, and I know it wasn't that.
Yeah.
She wasn't technically gone in real life at this point yet, but to me, and maybe it's just because I have some hurt feelings about it now because she obviously is gone from us. But to me, it's very distasteful.
Okay.
So
yeah, I hear you.
So I have strong feelings about it, y'all. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I got you.
There could have been so many other little things that could have happened.
Almost definitely, yeah. No, I agree with you.
You're stretching, baby.
Okay.
You stretch.
It just
He's
scared
not gonna
me.
pee up here. He's never peed up here.
It just scares me.
I know. You don't have to snatch him up. He was stretching. I could tell.
Okay.
Honestly, I would have used my hand. It's like, ah.
Gross.
I know. No, I probably would have chunked him over there with a potty bag, but
all right, so we'll end it there, and then I'll kind of last thoughts, I guess. So, all right, so I guess we'll go ahead and we'll end it there because we've already got a supersized episode now,
but
which
we
is really
knew.
cool, though. Yeah,
but we knew this is a very
Absolutely.
controversial movie, so we kind of knew that.
We really did need to discuss that. I think.
Yeah.
It had a lot to talk about and everything, and so I think that Well, let's go ahead and we'll move into final thoughts. I think.
Okay.
So my final thoughts on it. I'm really excited on what it sets up for episode 9. Because I do find it interesting that you almost can make little to no theories on it. It just kind of left things the way it left them.
Right.
And so, I mean, there's, I'm glad that we're able to theorize in some way of, okay, well, where is it going? What's going on and everything. And so I'm interested to see what happens for 9 and how really it ties up all the saga and everything.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's a big one. A lot's hinging on that final Skywalker saga movie. So
it is.
What about you?
I'm very excited. I think what I'm looking forward to the most for the upcoming movie would be the Outer Rim.
Yes,
our allies in the Outer Rim.
Yep.
That's something that bothered me too. Was they were like, oh, everyone's gotten our distress signal, but nobody's coming. So, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's going to play really big into what's happening in the next movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't know. And even though that scene really bothers us, and there's a lot of like character flaws we don't like right now. I mean, I'm sure it's all going to come together in this next movie. Yeah, and it'll all make sense to us, and we'll be like I said, oh, okay. Absolutely. So there's a lot of open-end questions and a lot of like theories we can fill and ways we can go.
Well, and with talking this out with you, I feel like I personally feel better about the movie too.
See, I do too.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not going to like go...
Because your original rating was a 3. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not going to let that go.
I was kind of joking, honestly. You asked me like right in the middle of it before it even gets good, and you're just kind of like... like the only good scene you get is like they take out the dreadnought. Yeah. And then the rest of it's like a little firefly. They're just like following a little car around.
Yeah. So yeah. But I think that I feel better about the movie. I feel like I understand it a little bit more, and that there's a little bit more depth to it that I didn't previously have. I think just because we were able to talk it out, so I think that's cool. Which is important because, and then little sidetrack. Everybody angry on Twitter and all these other social media is like, just talk, guys.
Right. Just
you don't have to agree, and that's what's cool. Kristen and I don't agree on everything. There's some things that she likes on this that I don't, and vice versa.
Right.
Just talk. It's fun to theorize. So
just talk it out and keep an open mind. And you don't have to try to prove that you're right. No. In any form or fashion. You just, I mean, are
you really right in a Star Wars movie?
I mean, true. True. So, I mean, just gotta stay open to other people's opinions and just kind of talk it out if it bothers you, because like you said too, I do feel better as well. Like I feel like you were able to give me some insight on some things that I really hadn't thought about. Yeah. Especially when it comes to Rey. So I'm not so angry with her anymore, and I'll quit griping about her stupid face.
Man. So she can't sit with us?
No, she can't sit with us. She wasn't even wearing pink. Did you see that? I'm just kidding. I do want to say that October 3rd is on a Wednesday, so we all have to wear pink.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding.
Well, you heard it here first.
I'm just kidding. I don't care. It was just funny. I saw that today.
So cool. So we'll go ahead and we'll end the episode there. So guys, thank you so much for hanging in there with us and listening to our Last Jedi discussion. This actually wraps up our saga rewatch, which has been a lot of fun.
It has been. It really has. I've really enjoyed going back and rewatching the Star Wars movies and kind of throwing in a few shows here and there as well to kind
Definitely.
of play into some of the characters that we see throughout the movie. And I always really like diving into Star Wars with you, Danny, because you always can give me some good insight on what your thoughts are on it a lot of times, and you can kind of be like, oh, don't you remember so and so from da-da-da? And then you can give me this like little rundown of like who or what this is. I'm like,
I am a wealth of useless knowledge.
It's not useless to me.
Thanks, honey. No, but no. In likewise though, it's been cool watching it with you because it's like, even though you have seen these before, I can always tell when you like all of a sudden it clicks for you, and that's the coolest moments for me.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I've learned a lot from you too, so it's been really fun. And guys, thank you so much for following along with us and watching all the movies with us and hanging in there with us and everything. It's been a blast talking with you guys, and we really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun,
and we're really excited actually because this is actually the last episode for this month. And next month we're actually going to be jumping into October 3rd, which is funny because it's a Wednesday. We're in pink. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm done. But we actually thought it'd be really cool to use October the whole month as like a scary stuff in Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely. We're calling it our Monster Madness.
Yes, we sure are. So we're going to be talking about like the monsters of Star Wars, just really and truly the scarier details and episodes in Star Wars. And I think it'd be a lot of fun considering, things get spooky in October because of Halloween and all. So
we found some really creepy things.
We did, and we're so excited to reveal all these things to y'all. And it may be some things y'all didn't even realize either. So definitely make sure you stick around for the month of October with us because we're really excited about it, and we definitely want your guys' input and any questions or comments you might have about it.
Absolutely.
So,
our next week's episode will be Ghosts and Visions.
Yes,
we're very excited about it. So for anybody who noticed, we didn't talk about Rey's vision in this one. So we will be talking about it next week in Ghosts and Visions. So definitely tune in, subscribe if you're not already. And if you enjoyed the episode or any episodes prior, please rate and review us on iTunes. We really appreciate it. You leave us a 5-star review, we'll happily read it on the show.
Yeah, we sure will.
Really appreciate it. And guys, you can check us out on social media at Kessel Run Weekly. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as our website, KesselRunWeekly.com. And so, Kristen, if you don't have anything else,
I'm good.
Awesome. So, guys, we'll see you next week for our Monster Madness. My name is Danny.
And I'm Kristen.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.